In the late 80s, many studios had the same idea in regards to underwater horror films, the most famous one being James Cameron's The Abyss. Others included Endless Descent, Lords of the Deep, and Deep Star 6, among others. One of those films was the George P. Cosmatos-directed Leviathan. Cosmatos worked with Peter Weller before and cast him as the main lead in Leviathan. Legendary special effects guru Stan Winston had the choice between Leviathan and Deep Star 6, as well as getting a call from Cameron to do The Abyss. However, Winston opted for Leviathan because something about it intrigued him. Richard Crenna, Amanda Pays, Daniel Stern, Ernie Hudson, Hector Elizondo, Michael Carmine, Lisa Elbacher, and Meg Foster round out the supporting cast, as well as having award-winning cinematographer Alex Thompson and the exceptional Jerry Goldsmith composing the score. When creating the monster, Cosmatos insisted on it not being realistic to actual marine life, even though the special effects team wanted it to, because he wanted a monster that was insane and a quote-unquote freak show. The underwater scenes weren't underwater at all, as that would have been very expensive. So they filmed everything with a blue tint, undercranked the cameras, and blew fake snow to make it look like it was underwater. With this, though, the cast had to read up their lines, as undercranking the cameras would have made them talk very slowly, as well as the suits being incredibly hot and caused the cast to faint multiple times due to heat exhaustion. In addition to that, was that they had to stay in the suits for the whole day, since it was really hard to get in and out of the suits, as well as not having control over their arms or hands, so the crew had to spoon-feed them food when on break. On the set of the film, Cosmatos was infamously hard to work with. He would never listen to the producers if they brought back notes, and the actors called him a megalomaniac. He and Stan Winston even had a screaming match at one point. Despite Cosmatos ruling the set with an iron fist, and many of the actors having a problem with his directing style, they forged ahead anyway. Eventually, everything wrapped, and it was released in March of 1989. It only made back $15 million out of a $20 million budget. Many critics felt it ripped off much better films like Alien, The Thing, Outland, and Run Silent, Run Deep, as well as the video game Project Firestar, but with the ocean instead of outer space. It went on to be a minor cult film. Now, on to the actual movie, which is not nearly as interesting as the behind the scenes of the movie. This is pretty much an underwater version of The Thing, but not nearly as good. It lacks the suspense, intrigue, excellent writing, dialogue, and heart of John Carpenter's magnum opus. But goddamn did they try. The first half, I will say, is very excellent. The regular goings-on of the ship, getting to know the crew, and that sort of thing, with a bit of that slow build-up to when they find out what is actually going on. The only problem is that it suffers from having too much build-up. While the first half was very intriguing, it felt like Act 1, and the rest of the film felt like Act 2 and 3 smushed together. They threw way too much at the audience, and because of that, it felt really, really rushed. It was a very lopsided and poorly structured movie when it didn't have to be. I really wanted to like this movie, but I was watching the second half in disbelief because it almost didn't feel like a movie. I cannot for the life of me explain it, but it just felt so off, and I felt so disconnected that it didn't even register in my mind that I was watching a movie. I know that doesn't make any sense, but that's kind of how I felt. It just bombards you with action that you don't care about, with characters that you stop caring about. I thought I would genuinely feel something when somebody died because I really liked these characters in the first half, yet when they were getting killed off by the creature, I felt nothing. The only one I liked was Amanda Pays, to be perfectly honest. And I really love Peter Weller, Ernie Hudson, Daniel Stern, and all the other actors. It's just kind of funny how despite the first half being a slower build-up, I felt it was better paced and more interesting, yet the second half with all the action felt really boring. But that goes back to my comment on throwing too much at the audience. I will say though, the creature effects are fucking amazing, with the only detriment is that you don't see it as much as you should, due to the fact that it was a complicated effect and was in water a lot of the time, caused it to not work as well, hence why it wasn't shown. But when you do see it, it is really damn good. The music was also something I really liked, but again, there's a flaw. It really did not match the action going on, especially in the final few minutes of the movie where it felt cheesier because of the music. I think another thing that caused the second half to be so rushed is that it felt like a lot of scenes were missing. Like a scene would cut too quick, like a character was going to do or say something more, and then it cuts to them in another location doing something else. Like there was supposed to be a scene in there somewhere, but it was cut at the last second for whatever reason. Overall, despite the fact that the behind the scenes was so intriguing, I really wanted to like this movie more. However, despite a great first half, a great cast, an awesome creature, and a great score, it's let down by a tremendously rushed second half with choppy editing, characters I stopped caring about, a character that is never seen, and a score that doesn't match what's going on. I recommend reading more into the history of the movie and more of the behind the scenes, But that's honestly about it. Watch if you dare.